All right, guys, welcome back. Quick break there. We got Sean Maida with Foster Made, who also owns CartThrob, as we all know, an amazing e-commerce plugin for ExpressionEngine. And so I'm sorry, I'm getting somebody's audio here. Do you hear that, Sean? Or is that just me?
I don't, but maybe it's me. I don't know.
Oh, I got it. I figured it out. Sorry about that, guys. I've got a lot of tabs open today. We're working on this conference, so we're good to go. But yeah, as I was saying, Sean runs FosterMade and who owns CartThrob. And so today, I think we're going to talk a little bit about e-commerce in general, e-commerce with ExpressionEngine, maybe some CartThrob updates that everyone wants to hear.
Yeah.
Other than that, I will let you have the floor, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you all so much. So my first, I just want to thank my team who's not here because they put these slides together for me. I got my second vaccine shot yesterday, so I actually took a very long nap in the middle of this day. So we're gonna do this. It will probably be pretty quick, and happy to answer questions too. So yeah, as you said, the goal today, I think for me, is to share a little bit of the history and hopefully light the path of where we're going with CartThrob. And I would like to bring a little bit of joy. I think it's a big part of why we do this. So who am I and why the heck am I up here? There's a typo in this, but the founder of FosterMade, been in the ExpressionEngine community since roughly 2007. And FosterMade's owned CartThrob in stores since 2019. We used to, for anybody that's been around a long time, prior to FosterMade, we operated a service called eCoder, and that was really the core of our business for a very long time. And I'm going to move. 2010 for me. I know I saw Low pop in, and I don't know how many of you were around back then. I'm going to try and connect the dots on this later, but we met for ExpressionEngine Conf in San Francisco. It was my first conference. For me, it was a little bit like attending a rock concert where I got to meet the band. There were our ExpressionEngine celebrities, if you will, at the time were there, and it was a big deal. It was a fun conference. Rick got up, and I don't remember his whole talk, but it's always stuck with me. He got up and gave this talk about the butterfly effect and a butterfly flapping its wings, and like basically the world adopting ExpressionEngine. And there was a lot of excitement at that particular conference. And I'll come back to why I think that is relevant now. But yeah, kind of for me, that was one of my first moments and first times where I think ExpressionEngine was able to change for me personally and for FosterMade, eCoder at the time, like our path. That was 5 kids ago for me, which is crazy to think about. So I know I met some of you folks then, but we'll come back to that. Commerce in the land of ExpressionEngine. So one of the things we're not really going to spend time on the other products, but I thought this was interesting to pull together. So we went and took a look at all of the platforms, all of the commerce platforms that we could find or knew of, and really looked at their change logs and kind of the major milestones. And so, we see Simple Commerce come out early on with ExpressionEngine, and we get Foxy, which was an integration with Foxy Cart. I actually don't know when CartThrob 1 came out, which was an interesting thing to try and figure out and realize I couldn't. And then we saw Expressive Store and Brilliant Retail. Eventually Tom and the eHarbor folks, I don't know if you built this or acquired it, but Charge, eHarbor subscriptions, all the way up to most recent. I think there's a Molly integration that came out. So I think we wanted to show visually this history. I think it's interesting because it's a little misleading. If we look back at ExpressionEngine's history, there's actually a lot of development happening 2010, 2012, in those years. And then although there's a lot of product releases, and I think if you've been around, you felt this, and so we want to acknowledge it, although there's a lot of product releases between 2010 and 2020, what we're not seeing is innovation. And so, I think call out to the guys at Packet Time and eHarbor in terms of like active change logs. You all actually worked on charge and subscriptions, or your version of subscription. So that's great. But I think it's just important to know that there was this like time where the community, where this work wasn't happening. And I think what's exciting is that we're at a point where I believe this has turned. And I think Tom, today was talking about the future of ExpressionEngine. There is a lot of development happening now, at least on the CartThrob front. And we'll get to that. But just kind of wanted to highlight these major milestones in that history. Just quickly, the CartThrob releases. So CartThrob 2, major release way back in 2010. Newton, Sanchez, the Barrett Newton crew. I'm sorry, they're also fixing my roof right now, which is not super helpful. 3, 4, and 5. So we acquired CartThrob right there at the beginning of 2019. 3 and 4 were mainly ExpressionEngine support upgrades. So there's not a lot of like innovation happening. And then what we see for the next year and a half is us, as Tom talked about, dealing with some of the technical debt, just a lot of time under the hood trying to stabilize a platform that really from 2010 to 2019 just was not actively improved in many ways. So CartThrob 5.5 released earlier this week. So that major improvements to the order manager, and you'll see CartThrob 6 there. So I want to give just a quick shout out to these folks. There's many more, but to me, some of the brightest minds in the ExpressionEngine community have played a role, both prior to us and now. So the Triple Nerd Score crew, Doug Black, Jeff, have been helping currently. Eric Lamb, Gilbert Lynn, Travis from Hop Studios, many conversations with Tom, and of course the folks that came before us. So there's been a ton of time and effort and care put into a product that we believe in, but is not yet where we think it should be. The quest that started this. So I think we back in 2007, 2010, we fell in love with ExpressionEngine because what it could do and what it meant. And Carolyn was talking about, ExpressionEngine versus WordPress. And so to me, there was all of this flexibility, and that is what, I think CartThrob meant to be for ExpressionEngine. So this is probably not like a universal view. It's kind of my opinion. When we bought CartThrob and Store, we were able to look at really a long history of communication, a long history of sites. And I think what I want to highlight here is I believe that CartThrob and Store serve two very different groups of users. And this will get to our path today, but the CartThrob sites are all over the place in terms of complexity. So we've seen sites doing 20, 30, 40,000 orders a day, selling marijuana products. We've seen those on very small sites. We've seen, membership sites with 100,000 plus users. And we just see this wide variety. That makes support pretty complicated. It's a very robust product, I think, as a result. And what we saw with Store was generally the sites that were coming to us. We don't know all of them, but a lot of the sites we were looking at were a little more plug and play, a little more traditional commerce, a little more straightforward. So I think we've thought about those two products as having two very different intentions behind them, or sort of realities with them, whether or not the initial developers thought that. But we saw CartThrob as more of the e-commerce toolkit store, as more of the kind of off-the-shelf commerce platform. One of the challenges in that, kind of going back to the slide with the landscape of products, was that the market was really not supporting multiple brands and multiple products and the investment that those products require. So since this purchase, we've spent several thousand hours, which for us is between $300,000 and $500,000, depending on how you do the math, working on improving, the marketing. So we'll get there, but and the products as well. So anyway, just highlighting, I think that there were very different purposes behind these products, and we'll talk a little bit about what we intend to do there. So commerce is complicated. I think that, again, the variety of things that you all as a community are trying to solve, or we as a community are trying to solve, is, again, all across the map. So whether it's product options or taxes or shipping, we see over and over and over again that the requests just vary greatly. And we feel, I think, a lot of the challenge and the pain that it comes with delivering those features for our clients and for yours. So that I think our mission with CartThrob, or the brand of CartThrob, is really to build something that you all love. And the word we use internally is smitten. I think when Newton envisioned CartThrob, he envisioned something that you all would just want to use, that the community would be excited about, and would in a sense fall in love with. And so the word we use, again, is, we just internally are driving towards this idea that we will together build a commerce platform and ecosystem that sort of rekindles that love we had with ExpressionEngine 10 years ago, and apply that to commerce, which is, again, pretty hard. So again, where have we been? I think again, Tom said this. Sorry, Tom said the technical debt. So for us, that lull that we talked about, there was just a lot, lots and lots of code. And so I think for us, we shook off the rust. We're not there yet. We're on a journey. We haven't arrived at a destination. But what we've seen and what we feel is that we got the ship unstuck. It's turned, and we are now pointing towards the future of what commerce can be with ExpressionEngine. Very recently, so CartThrob 6 is available as of yesterday with ExpressionEngine 6 support. It is currently available in the ExpressionEngine store. We're going to get it up on the CartThrob site soon. CartThrob subscriptions, written years ago, has been upgraded. So it works with CartThrob 5.5. Gift certificates, abandoned cart notifications, fees, global item options, and a new gateway pay trace payments. So when we took these products over, we took over it's something like 90 repositories of various add-ons that were built over time. And I think we feel and we're seeing that we've been able, recently, we've kind of hit a point where our energy is shifting to releasing and beginning to innovate on these products. So all of these releases have happened in the last few months. We've got a lot more on the way. So CartThrob 5.5, which released this week, is LTS for 12 months. So I believe that's April 20th, 2022. So beyond the LTS of ExpressionEngine 5. So that is ExpressionEngine 5 support for 12 months, and bug fix and security updates. CartThrob Light is in active development. I will talk about that in a second. A year ago, Adrian from my team got up and demoed an Algolia search integration that we have ready. We just need to do a little bit of testing and want to write some docs on. The big thing there is the way that's built. The passing data between ExpressionEngine and Algolia is mostly configured in a UI instead of configured in code. So if you've worked with some other CMSs and some of those integrations, they often require writing a lot of PHP. We do Algolia integrations effectively daily, and our goal is to make that very like UI driven for the majority of sites. Updated admin panels coming. We are actively working to get rid of CartThrob's like old legacy screens. So the order manager that just released is kind of more fully built on EE's current standards and conventions. I would say EE5, but that really ends up being a full rewrite of the control panel screens. We know that you need a new demo store, so we have that designed, and it's on our list to get that built. Our intention is to use Tailwind, just because a lot of people are familiar, to just replace the demo store so that you all have a functional like commerce system to work with out of the gate. And we've been teasing this for a while. There is a full new site with rewritten docs in active development at this point. So we feel it's super important to not just for CartThrob, but for the ExpressionEngine ecosystem as a whole, to begin. And I think, again, shout out to the ExpressionEngine team. A lot of the work is in shifting perception, looking back at the history, realizing what it was, and then putting forward the who we're going to become and who we are today. And so there is a lot of pain around the current CartThrob site. And yeah, so one of the things, again, we're going to do is get this new site up. We hope that helps you all sell. We hope it helps you all convince your customers that ExpressionEngine as a whole, plus CartThrob, can be a platform that rivals, WooCommerce or Craft Commerce, or maybe that instead of Magento or Shopify. So a lot of work to do, but those are some of the highlights that we have on the way. I can't really give timelines, but I can say that all of these things are actually in active progress in some part of the journey. So CartThrob Light. So we I think teased this out in email maybe at the end of last year. Could have done a better job communicating the intent there. CartThrob and Store both had equal, if you look at 10 years, have almost equal sales. So, and they're very different code bases, and as kind of I said, I believe they have different audiences. It's a lot of work to maintain both code bases and to market them well, and to build a culture and an ecosystem and a following around them. So we made the painful decision to shut down Store, really based on what we felt like was reasonable to build a thriving, healthy business around commerce. What we need is a product that's self-sustaining over time. And I believe that the majority of the commerce market in ExpressionEngine has not been that. You've seen multiple acquisitions, and we've seen a lot of products no longer be available. So the painful decision was to shut down Store so that we could focus our energy on CartThrob. When we announced, hey, we're going to bring Store back, I think there was an immediate like, how in the heck are you guys going to do this? So there's a longer roadmap for what our intentions are. I believe ultimately we do not want to manage distinctly different code bases, while also recognizing that what the community could use is robust commerce that costs less. So right now, the path that we're on and the plan is to have Store available for EE6. That will be released at a much lower price point than CartThrob. The intention there is that it's not a highly customizable platform. One of the things we need to do is minimize support so that we can keep product costs low. So it will mostly be Store 5, what's available now, but with some changes to most likely limit some of the customization that we see happening that drives really implementation effort up and therefore support up. That will be rebranded. So the goal here is for us to give you all the product, to bring the product to market, but to manage really a single brand, so that we can invest in getting the word out, getting people to find these products and to, again, we hope, fall in love with them. So that will be phase 1. Rename Store, have it available for ExpressionEngine 6 at a lower price point. Immediately following that, we're writing a migration utility. So we know that getting to a single code base will be a significant amount of effort, and the time to market's just too great. So our intention there is to provide you all a path where, if your customer needs to go from a fairly traditional commerce installation to one with a lot of customization as they grow, that there will be a way to migrate that data, and where we can, to provide the guidelines on what's changing as you make that move. So that is, again, I don't have a timeline, but it is an active development now that the ExpressionEngine release 6 release is available, or CartThrob 6. Just 2, I think, other items here. We do intend to change the licensing model. We are actively supporting licenses from 10 years ago. When we took on CartThrob, we made the decision was to not charge for support, and not, where possible, not deny support until we really understood what people were asking for, until we understood what the cost of supporting the systems were, and honestly, until the platforms, it's just a lot of technical debt. And so until we got to a place where the code was beginning to become more maintainable and more like pointed us towards the future. So we do not have all of the details on this yet. We are hashing them out along with the site redesign, and obviously looking for ExpressionEngine's add-on store to see where they go. But our sort of intention now, again, is to build something that can self-sustain. The matters the most is that the commerce system the ecosystem's healthy, so that it can get the sort of attention that everybody wants it to have. Again, and I don't think it's ever been like a healthy ecosystem. So if you notice, if you already have a CartThrob 5 license, and potentially if you have a 4 license, the 6 license is free. So we are stopping this idea of charging for major version upgrades. I think that was done because the developers, like everybody needed to fund the work. What we will move to is some sort of like yearly percentage based. So, if that add-on's $1,000, maybe it's 20% of that if you need renewed licenses. So that's coming. More info will come as our site gets ready. And I think the thing I can say is we will do the right thing, what we believe is the right thing for any current license holders. Kind of the other big change that's coming is paid support. So the support model for years has been CartThrob doesn't give free support. This really was documented back to the Barrett Newton days. But whether or not you got free support was a question. What most likely happened was you didn't get good support. You got support that took a while. And again, part of that's just supporting licenses that are 10 years old, or a lot of the support requests are how-to requests that might take 8, 16, 24 hours to solve. So on a $249 license, a 24-hour support request is not sustainable. Bug fixes, security fixes, always free, always should be. The details of this will be released soon, but we will be moving to a model where there's foundational support included for a certain number of days and a certain number of requests. We intend to offer build support, so we get a lot of, can CartThrob do this? How should I do this in CartThrob? How do I do this? A lot of times it bleeds over to how do I do this with ExpressionEngine as a whole. So there will be a fixed fee option for folks that are, you're out there selling a CartThrob site, or you want to sell and you want our team to come alongside you and sort of map out what an installation would look like, what the tags would look like, how you might integrate with your ERP, or how you might do custom shipping for your wholesale manufacturer with 4 warehouses. There'll be an option for us to come in and give you that guidance, not to do the work, but to give the guidance. And then I would say roughly following the ExpressionEngine support model, a way once you're out of that foundation support to get guaranteed response times, to get the support you need. So those things are coming. They're really waiting on us to get the new site up. So over the next few months, I believe we committed that in the 90-day plan. We'll bring those details. Just highlighting here that I think we think about this in 4 buckets. So agency enablement. So how do we help you all do your jobs? How do we help you? So that for us is improving the brand. The brand has been through a lot. It doesn't show well. So that is, bringing the new site, bringing better documentation, getting you better support, so that you're not telling your customers, hey, we're just waiting on the CartThrob folks. Core product improvement, so just bug fixes and core enhancements. So that's actively ongoing. I should say that we had a number of testers. I am not going to have all the names right now, so I'm going to avoid that. But if you were a tester for us, thank you. But we have testers actively in our GitHub account, providing feedback, providing suggestions. So that's an area we're working on. We really want to build out the CartThrob Pro ecosystem. So a question is like, why is Paytrace Payment Gateway separate from Core? Part of that is that what we want to build is a robust marketplace. And so we will be releasing more of the add-ons that we have that we acquired, as well as some new ones. We're actively talking to Avalara about building a tax add-on. So those will be coming out. Some will be free, some will be paid. If you saw, we dropped the price of subscriptions substantially. Part of that is the base license of CartThrob went up, so we can do that. And then CartThrob Light. How do we get the community a very robust commerce platform that is going to serve the lower end budgets of the market? And so building that. I only have a few more slides. it just, those butterflies to me. I think for me, somebody asked Tom, like, how's he feel? I just, as I think about the last 11 years since I attended that conference, I think, what if we're in the moment now? Like, what if we are at the point where the ship's turned, where we've got some cool things going on, but we've in no way as a whole ExpressionEngine community reached our potential. Again, I think the ExpressionEngine core team is doing amazing work after many years of helping to shape what our future is. So I just would encourage everybody to think about where we are as a beginning. I think that matters. Like, our history as a community is real. Some of it's kind of ugly, but like, we want to to be setting ourselves up now for what the next 5, 10, 20 years are. I will not have 5 more kids in 10 years. I'm done. But ExpressionEngine community, made that not possible, but made it so that I could do that sustainably. What can you do? It really does take a village. So to me, part of, I would call the low point in ExpressionEngine's history, we have to own as a community. That was not just Ellis Lab. That was us. We did a bad job being product champions. We wanted to hold Ellis Lab's feet to the fire. We did. And that hurt us all. So I think we need to be excited. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't be accountable. So I think when you need more from a product, you should demand it. But I think how you do that matters, and how you do that matters for our collective future. So just think about that. We need feedback. We do a lot of e-commerce work at FosterMade. We talk to a lot of people in support, but we don't necessarily know what all of your clients need. So give us that feedback. Shoot us an email. Drop something in support for us. And we are actively building this growing list of the work we plan to do. Sign up for newsletters. We will not email you often, but that is the best way from us to get feature releases, news about what's coming, and then one of the things we're doing now is sharing site builds, which really leads to the last thing is there are a lot of sites in the wild historically, and there's a lot of great builds coming online now that we don't know about necessarily. And we want to champion those for you. So if you're doing ExpressionEngine and CartThrob work together, let us know. Nina from my team is sending out these emails. We will be more active on social media, but I think part of what we want to do is champion your work and champion you, and help you, like us collectively, to build this ecosystem. So are you excited? I'm excited. Again, I'm super excited about where we're going. This is just 20, 30 minutes of me rambling, but happy to talk to anyone. Happy to answer questions now, Brian, if there's time. But yeah, thank you all.
Hi, yes, there's definitely time. I'm sorry, I'm multitasking in the background. A little shy.
That is okay.
So let's go over some Q&A. First one from Anonymous. Will it be possible to upgrade from Store to CartThrob Light?
So I think right now the answer is yes, in that the work we're doing now is to make, really, if you think about CartThrob Light, and I know that it might be a little weird to hear, like, this is a branding effort. Just the hard part, the expensive part, the part in trying to build a community, just means we really can't market two entirely separate products. So the first phase of this is really a rename. And really making sure that ExpressionEngine 6 supports there. We already know people are actually running Store 5 on ExpressionEngine 6. So what we are going to ensure of is that as part of this sort of rename in the code, that the data migrates. But you're not actually, if you think about CartThrob now as a distinctly separate code base and product, I would say you're not like, it's effectively Store as Store 6 under the CartThrob brand. And then I think the really important question will be like, is it possible to go from CartThrob Light to CartThrob Pro? And our intention is to make that possible. So we have a lot of work to do that, but we're very committed to that path. So I don't know if I articulated that well, but I think the answer is yes. There's just some nuance to what that is.
Okay. Another question, is CartThrob Light still based on an EE entry per order model?
Yeah, I mean, so CartThrob Light will still be, like at this point, it will still be what Store has. And I will tell you that I am not as well versed in Store. Also, most of my energy has been leading CartThrob. So we are more in we've started that effort. We're kind of in the earliest stages. One of the big questions we are wrestling with is whether or not CartThrob should ever actually store purchased items and orders in channel entries. So I would say that long term, CartThrob Light and CartThrob Light and CartThrob Pro they store products as channel entries, but not sort of the resulting order data. It is one of the biggest performance challenges currently. And we found very few cases where people are customizing the result screens. So I expect that change will happen, but I don't know when, or like we aren't fully committed to that path yet.
Cool, that makes sense. Rowan asks, I heard part of the new pricing model, but can you repeat that new plan? How is it scalable? Did you say 20% of shop sales volume?
No, sorry. I think and again, I'm trying to give the transparency that these things are coming, partly because I'm here talking today. The intention as of right now is that you'll pay for a license once, and then similar to some other systems, like you will basically pay for access to downloads of product updates after a year. So as an example, if you pay round up $1,000 for CartThrob's 6 today, you may pay $200 for access to CartThrob 6.5 or access to CartThrob 7 12 months from now. So one of the biggest challenges with sustaining the products is that the support cost, as the base grows, the support cost just outweighs license sales significantly. So if your customer is not updating, you don't necessarily need to pay for a renewal license, but you would basically be renewing a license at the fraction of the cost of the original license. So again, that's where we are today.
Okay, we got a couple questions from Paul.
Creative Arc, Paul?
I'm sorry?
Creative Arc?
Yes.
All right.
Any plans for ERP integrations? I think we have custom E modules and some bash scripts.
Yeah, there's and I think I want to own that. Like, one of the things we have not done is gone through the CartThrob site that exists today and cleaned up all of the things that are out there. So you'll read the docs and they'll say QuickBooks integration, ERP integration. As far as we know, a lot of that never existed. But we don't fully know because 10 years of that history wasn't ours. We just know we've not seen any proof of it. So I think it's a big question, Paul, and I actually don't have an answer. It's something that's on my mind because we see a lot of those. Like, that's a lot of what FosterMate does. It's a lot of the requests we see. I think, well, what we want to do is enable like the broadest market first. So to me, I think of like Amazon and Google shopping feeds. Like that to me is very important for a lot of stores where I've literally integrated with like 4 dozen different ERPs that were all very specific to the ERP. I joke that like people pull them like literally out of a dumpster and are like, here, connect to this. And we're like, sure, we can do that. So I would love to. I don't have a real clear yes for you though.
Sure. I like that analogy. Somebody anonymous asked, how much is being rewritten or refactored, and how did that impact the decision to simply start from scratch?
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you that we've all looked at it and said, hey, I would love to start from scratch. I think the challenge there is the time, like the sheer cost and time of doing so. So what we are trying to do is like iterate the product forward. And so that is like, we updated the plugin system. So the new plugin, the new payment gateways that we've been releasing, like PayTrace, actually exist as separate add-ons. They're not nested in the third-party folder. We moved to OmniPay 3, which makes it a little more consistent for how we write payment gateways. I wouldn't say it's easier. It's just more consistent. So I think the answer is like, I think rewriting from scratch like is not really a tenable like option. But we are like major refactor of components. So the order manager is just as an example. Some of that code is carried over from the old order manager, but there's like EE models and services now that just didn't exist before, and there's far less raw queries. And so I would say that order manager was not a full rewrite, but it was a very significant undertaking. And I'll just add like when I think about turning the ship, like that all of this work, like hundreds of hours, was literally to get to the place that we could begin to innovate. So it is roughly the same order manager. It's a whole lot faster. Most importantly, it's easier for us to work on going forward, which means we can add to it where we couldn't before. So
yeah, that's huge for advancing things. One more question. Does CartThrob 6 have a revised dashboard?
No. So our effort in CartThrob 5.5 was to update the order manager. For a lot of people, it just didn't work. Like if we've got customers with hundreds of thousands of orders. In most cases, if you had tens of thousands of orders, it didn't load at all. So it's just not usable. So that I would say is like visually looks pretty close to EE5 standards. Like it's mostly that UI with a few exceptions. CartThrob 6. So CartThrob 6 is mostly about ExpressionEngine 6 support and getting that out to the community as quickly as we could after our like LTS EE5 release, CT5. One of the things I highlighted in the slide was like admin update. That is one of the biggest things we know we need to do in terms of how CartThrob feels outside of updating the marketing site, is actually make it so that when you log into ExpressionEngine, the admin looks like it belongs. And so that is one of our next like major undertakings. And I kind of highlighted 4 buckets. We actually have different folks from FosterMade and from the community like attacking different buckets. So it's like pretty high investment right now. But like the folks working on the CartThrob Light are not the people like working on subscriptions or the person working on subscriptions. So we're kind of doing multiple things at once, but the answer is no. The longest no answer possible there.
I like hearing making it look like it belongs. As an add-on dev, that's one of like, to me, like things shouldn't feel like bolt-ons. Like it just doesn't feel like it belongs there. Like the end user should know the difference.
Right. And I think that's why I want to recognize the history. I'm like so thankful for what people did. I mean, like we all like HappyCog literally kept the product alive. Like they did us all a favor and our clients a favor because they bought it when Newton was done. And then that matters. But yeah, I think Brian. Like it's got to feel like a product that we all want to use. And that's like driving our motivation right now. Like, let's make it so that it's like, yeah, it looks like it belongs there.
Very cool. All right. So I think we were out of questions, so we will wrap this up